what exactly happens to the soul between the moment of death and the day of resurrection? It's the question that keeps us awake at night, isn't it? For centuries, a terrifying misunderstanding called soul sleep has taught that the departed soul falls into a deep, unconscious coma. We've been told that when we close our eyes, we just rest in a dark, silent grave until the end of the world. But here's the crazy part. What if I told you that is a tragic misunderstanding? The truth is, the Bible paints a drastically different picture. You do not vanish into the dark. Your loved ones are not trapped in a cold, lonely void. The reality of where your soul actually awakens, the millisecond your earthly eyes close, is breathtaking. If you are grieving a loss today, if your heart feels heavy with missing someone you love, please write their name in the comments below. Let us lift them up in prayer together. Today, I want us to open the scriptures together to expose the truth. We are going to debunk the 3 biggest myths about what happens after we die: soul sleep, purgatory, and earthly wandering ghosts. But before you believe that the grave is the final, quiet stop, if the Bible really promises immediate joy, why do so many believers think the soul falls asleep? It actually traces back to a single, often misunderstood verse. In Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 5, King Solomon writes, "For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing at all." When you read that isolation off the page, it sounds definitive, doesn't it? It sounds like the end. For generations, theologians and well-meaning teachers have pointed to this verse to build the doctrine of soul sleep. They argue that when a person passes away, their consciousness shuts off completely. The soul enters a state of deep hibernation inside the physical grave, waiting for the final trumpet sound of the resurrection. But when you truly think about that, it is an incredibly lonely theology. It strips away the comfort of God's immediate presence and replaces it with a dark, silent waiting room. It leaves us staring at a tombstone, imagining our loved ones buried in an endless, dreamless sleep. To understand why this belief is so terrifying, you have to step into the ancient world. In the Old Testament, the realm of the dead was often called Sheol. Imagine stepping into a vast, shadowy cavern where no light ever reaches. The air is heavy, thick, and perfectly still. There is no sound of worship, no warmth of the sun, just a profound, echoing silence. In the ancient Jewish mind, Sheol was the great equalizer, a shadowy underworld where both the righteous and the wicked descended. It was a place of fading existence, where the dead were thought to exist merely as pale reflections of who they once were. Does it make you shiver to imagine your loved one in a cold place like that? Do you fear the idea of them lying in absolute darkness, disconnected from God's voice and from your love? If that is what you have been taught, I understand why the pain of losing them feels so unbearable. But here is the detail that changes everything. Jesus Christ did not step into our history to leave Sheol exactly as he found it. He did not endure the cross to let darkness have the final word. If you want to know what happens the exact second a heart stops beating, you only need to look at a hill called Golgotha. The air was choked with dust and grief. 2 criminals hung next to Jesus. Their bodies were completely broken, their lungs fighting for every single breath. The sounds around them were chaotic. The mocking of the religious leaders, the weeping of families, the clinking of Roman armor. One of the criminals turned his head toward Jesus. He knew his life was slipping away. He didn't ask to be saved from the cross. He only asked to be remembered. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Listen very closely to how Jesus replied. He did not say, "I will remember you in a few thousand years when the trumpet sounds." He did not say, "Rest quietly in the dust, and one day you will wake up." Despite the immense physical agony, Jesus pushed himself up to draw breath and spoke a promise that shatters the doctrine of soul sleep forever. In Luke chapter 23, verse 43, he said, "Truly, I tell you today, you will be with me in paradise. I want you to really grasp the weight of that one specific word. In the original Greek text, the word is semeron, semeron. It means exactly what it sounds like this very day, right now, immediately. Jesus wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was making a literal guarantee. The transition from the agonizing death on a Roman cross to the glorious presence of God was going to happen today. And notice where he said they would be. He didn't say, "Today you will sleep in Sheol." In the ancient Persian language, from which the Greeks borrowed the word, a paradisos was a magnificent walled royal garden. It was a place reserved only for the king and his closest, most intimate friends. This is what I need you to hear. The thief had no time to get baptized. He had no time to do good works, but because of his faith in the final moments of his life, Jesus promised him an immediate conscious awakening in the royal garden of God. But wait, if the transition is immediate, why does the Apostle Paul talk about believers falling asleep? In 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 13, Paul writes about those who sleep in death. This is the exact verse that confuses so many sincere Christians. But there is a beautiful, simple explanation. When the Bible talks about death as sleep, it is exclusively talking about the physical body. Think about it from the perspective of the people standing around the bed. When a loved one takes their final breath, what does their physical body look like? It looks like they are resting. It looks like they are asleep. The biblical writers use the word sleep to describe what happens to the earthly shell, but they never used it to describe the soul. The body sleeps in the earth, awaiting the glorious day of physical resurrection. The immediate joy of heaven is clear, but if the soul goes straight to the King's garden, why do millions of people still fear that their loved ones are suffering through a painful process of purification? Why do they worry that the cross wasn't enough? If you have ever lost someone, you probably know the paralyzing grip of this specific fear. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering, were they good enough? Did they have enough time to repent? What if they are suffering right now to pay for their mistakes? This agonizing fear has a name. It is the doctrine of purgatory. For centuries, millions of people have been taught that the human soul is rarely pure enough to enter God's presence immediately. They believe that the soul must pass through a burning, painful process of purification, a temporary punishment designed to burn away the remaining sins before the gates of heaven can swing open. But I need you to understand how deeply this contradicts the very heart of the gospel. If your loved one had to suffer in the afterlife to pay off their own spiritual debt, then the cross of Jesus Christ was an absolute failure. In John chapter 19, verse 30, right before Jesus gave up his spirit, he shouted a single earth-shattering word, in Greek, tetelestai. It translates to, "It is finished," but in the ancient world, it was an accounting term. There is no outstanding balance. There is no extra suffering required. If your loved one trusted in Christ, precede inste. Their purification did not happen in some imaginary fiery waiting room after they died. Their purification happened on a wooden cross 2,000 years ago. The debt is paid. The door is wide open. As comforting as that is, humanity has invented another myth to cope with the silence of death. It is the widespread cultural belief that the dead linger, that they roam the earth as wandering spirits, haunting old houses, or that they become guardian angels to watch over their living relatives. We see this everywhere in movies and folklore. When someone passes away, people often say, God needed another angel in heaven, or they are earning their wings. While the sentiment sounds beautiful, it is entirely unbiblical. Humans do not transform into angels. According to Hebrews chapter 2, verse 7, God created humanity a little lower than the angels, but with a completely different destiny and nature. Angels are created spiritual beings who serve as God's messengers. humans are made in the image of God Himself. When a believer dies, their soul doesn't get demoted to a ghostly wanderer, trapped in the hallways of their old house, helplessly watching their family grieve. And they do not morph into a completely different species with wings. They retain their human soul, their identity, and their personality, and they are immediately escorted into the glorious presence of their Creator. To see just how real and immediate this light is, we have to look at the Apostle Paul. Paul was a man who endured shipwrecks, beatings, and imprisonment. He loved his life of ministry, but he wrote something from a dark Roman prison cell that completely destroys the idea of soul sleep purgatory, or becoming a wandering ghost. In Philippians chapter 1, verse 23, Paul admits that he is torn between living and dying. I want you to pause and really think about the psychology of that statement. It is a term sailors used for untying a ship from its moorings to set sail, or soldiers used for taking down their tent to march home. Paul didn't view death as a terrifying plunge into nothingness. He viewed it as untying the ropes to finally go home. But here is the most critical point. If Paul believed that dying meant falling into a centuries-long coma, why would he say it was better by far? Why would he be eager to trade his active, conscious ministry on earth for a dark, unconscious grave if he believed he was going to suffer in purgatory? Why would he be desperate to go? He desired it because he knew exactly what was waiting for him on the other side of that final breath. Immediate, conscious, overwhelming fellowship with Jesus Christ. This profound theological truth is not just a subject for academic debate. It was recorded in the Scriptures to completely change how you look at the empty chair in your dining room tomorrow morning. If you are listening to this right now, and your mind keeps drifting back to the warm embrace of a father you just buried, or the gentle smile of a mother you had to say goodbye to, I want you to let these biblical truths wash over you. When you stand in the cemetery, looking down at the freshly turned earth, your physical eyes are deceiving you. You run your fingers over the cold stone of the marker, and the grief threatens to pull you under. But listen to me. The person you love is not down there in the cold, damp soil. They are not sleeping in the dark. They are not wandering the earth as a lonely ghost. They are not waiting in a fiery purgatory, desperately trying to earn their way into God's grace. In the exact millisecond, their physical heart stopped beating in that hospital room. Their spiritual eyes opened to a light so pure, so brilliant, it would blind us if we saw it now. They are completely whole, and they are completely awake. But how do we know for absolutely sure that they still have their memories? How do we know they haven't lost their personality? How do we know they are fully conscious right now? For the final, undeniable proof, we have to look at the most mysterious book in the Bible. In Revelation chapter 6, the Apostle John is given a breathtaking vision of the unseen realm. In verses 9 through 11, John looks under the heavenly altar, and he sees the souls of those who had been martyred for their faith. Notice carefully what he describes. He doesn't see a group of unconscious people sleeping in the dust. He doesn't see glowing, faceless orbs of energy floating around. He sees souls who are fully awake, fully conscious, and sharply aware of their surroundings. They are speaking directly to God with loud voices. They are asking questions about the future. They clearly remember their past on earth and the people who wronged them. And what does God do? Does He tell them to go back to sleep? Does He ignore them? No. The Bible says, "Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer." I want you to close your eyes and picture that moment. The white robe represents ultimate purity, comfort, and victory. It is a deeply personal, intimate gesture from the Creator. The souls in heaven are clothed, they are comforted, and they are resting. But it is not the unconscious, terrifying sleep of the grave. It is the peaceful, a joyful rest of a child who finally feels safe in their Father's arms after a long, exhausting journey. They are fully alive in the Spirit, waiting for one final glorious event. the day of resurrection. On that day, their conscious souls will be miraculously reunited with a new, glorified physical body that will never know disease, pain, or death ever again. If you believe with all your heart that Jesus is holding your loved one's soul right now in perfect peace and perfect light, I want you to type "God is life" in the comments below to seal your faith today. When we think about the afterlife, our human minds naturally focus on the location. We want to know what heaven looks like. We want to know if there are literal streets of gold, gates of pearl, or mansions of crystal. We wonder what our loved ones are doing right now, minute by minute. But the Bible insists that the greatest, most breathtaking truth about life after death is not where they are, but who they are with. The ultimate purpose of the afterlife is not to float endlessly on fluffy clouds playing harps. The purpose is not just to escape the physical pain, the cancer, or the heartbreak of this broken world. The true magnificent purpose of heaven is the complete and final restoration of the relationship that was shattered in the Garden of Eden thousands of years ago. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 8, the Apostle Paul makes this beautiful, confident declaration. "We are confident, I say, and would prefer to be away from the body and at home with the Lord." Notice that specific phrasing, "at home with the Lord." Heaven is not just a geographic destination. It is a grand reunion. It is the exact moment the human soul finally steps into the unfiltered, overwhelming presence of the Creator who knit them together in their mother's womb. All the theological mysteries they wondered about on earth are suddenly answered. All the spiritual hunger they felt is instantly satisfied. I want you to hold tightly onto that image tomorrow morning. When you wake up and the house feels entirely too quiet. When you walk past their empty bedroom, or when you see their favorite jacket still hanging by the door. The physical absence is going to hurt. The grief is going to come in heavy waves, and I want you to know that it is entirely okay to cry. Jesus himself wept at the tomb of his friend Lazarus, and he understands the sting of your tears perfectly. But as those tears fall, I want you to remember this unshakable promise. Your loved one did not just fade away into the blackness. They did not cease to exist. While you are missing them in this shadowy, temporary world, they are living a life more vibrant, more colorful, and more intensely real than anything we can possibly imagine on this side of eternity. They are not waiting for life to begin again. They are experiencing the truest, purest form of life right now, in the very presence of Jesus Christ. You do not vanish into the dark, and neither did they. They simply stepped out of the shadowlands of this earth and walked straight into the eternal dawn. We have covered a lot of profound ground today. We shattered the terrifying illusion of soul sleep. We dismantled the agonizing fear of purgatory, and we exposed the cultural myth of wandering ghosts. The biblical truth is brilliantly clear. The moment a believer closes their eyes on this earth, they awaken in the glorious, fully conscious presence of Jesus Christ. They are completely safe, and they are waiting for the final day of resurrection. If this message brought comfort to your heart today, please share this video with someone you know who is grieving. They need to hear this truth. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our deep dives into the scriptures. Now, if you want to know exactly what happens to our physical bodies on that final day of resurrection and how we will recognize each other, click the video on your screen right now. I will see you there.